suppers went on hiatus, they were actually handing the food out, which they do to all of their guests after the meal. So it's something, if you're wanting to get involved in something that's in the community, face to face, heart related. I know every time you drive off the freeway and you see somebody who's standing there in raggy clothes looking for a $5 bill or $1 bill, you might say, nah, I don't want to do that. But this is something you can do that's easy, doesn't require much. My wife and I went to the market yesterday and bought a bag full of food, over 20 pounds of food for $17. And so it's not expensive. And what we do is collect it every 2 months. And then those of us who have bigger cars just haul it over to the church, which is a few miles from here. And they love us over there because we just show up, we're happy, we're really happy to be helping the food insecure and the homeless people, they're not all homeless, in this community. I've had the blessing to play Santa Claus there for a number of years. We didn't do it last year because of COVID. So if you're looking for something to do that's not a high impact, not a lot of time requirement, doesn't cost a lot of money, and you are actually helping people in our community who are less fortunate than us, you can pick up a bag in the table in the back. It's got a little suggested list. Not taking much in the way of fresh foods or things. We get donations from Second Harvest and things, but we bought some ramen, we bought some juices, we bought some canned vegetables, some tomato sauce, some pasta. And it's something, every time you go to the market, you can buy one extra thing, and in 2 months, you'll have enough to fill the bag. So we encourage you to do that if you want to help, especially the new folks who maybe haven't gotten integrated into the community yet. And you can go back and see the lovely ladies on the table back there. And it's doing God's work. We all love it, and they love us for doing it. And now we've made friends in that community, and it's really beautiful. We attended a birthday party of one of the guests who's now become my friend. And I can't say enough about it. Anyway, God bless. Open your hearts, and thank you.
Thank you, Arnie. It's a wonderful cause. All right. Well, with that, I wish you all a wonderful service today, and let's hand it over to Michael, who will be performing a piece called Romanza. Michael.
Good morning. My name is Jim Perry. I'm one of your prayer chaplains here and also a member of the Mate Ricky ministry. And it's my honor to open the service with you today by lighting the Christ candle and reading from the daily word. It's truly an honor to light this Christ candle because it's just a simple reminder that the Christ consciousness, the beauty of the Christ consciousness is available to us at any time, just like lighting a candle. And the daily word today is a phrase, a beautiful phrase. Taking responsibility for my life leads me to freedom. Freedom is the word, that's the affirmative phrase. So at the end of my reading, we'll share that together. And it's inspired by our biblical reference today, Galatians chapter 5, verse 13. For you were called to freedom, brothers and sisters. Each life has its share of ups and downs. Like most people, I have felt blessed by my happy experiences and laid low by my more difficult ones. I have used the tools, the spiritual tools of forgiveness and gratitude to learn from and move beyond my more painful experiences. This kind of spiritual housekeeping is my key to lasting freedom. By releasing blame and regret over and over again if necessary, I am ensuring that I will not be bound by the past nor limited by an outworn image of myself. Life is dynamic, and so am I. My growth is dependent upon my forward movement, and I commit to embracing the freedom that comes from leaving the past behind. With gratitude, I bless the person that I was. With faith, I reach unencumbered for the person that I am becoming. Once again, our word today is freedom, and our affirmative phrase, taking responsibility for my life, leads me to freedom. Together, taking responsibility for my life leads me to freedom.
I invite everyone.
Terry needs the mic.
There we go. I invite everyone to close your eyes. As you close your eyes, take a refreshing breath. Feel the deep blessing of your breathing. The deep blessing of the eternal now moment that we are sitting in together. And I read this prayer, which is called the Balance Prayer. Actually, words from the ancient text, the Tao Te Ching, written by Lao Tzu about 2,600 years ago. I've took the liberty to put a few lines in of my own. In the Tao, let us empty all of our doctrines. For the Tao's wisdom is eternally inexhaustible, unknowable to the mere intellect. The Tao is the intelligence by which all things come into being. It smooths the edges of the intellect and untangles the knots of the mind, softens the glare of thinking, and settles the dust of thoughts. Transparent, yet invisible, the Tao exists like the deepest ocean. Its origin is unknown, for it existed before heaven and earth were born. Its voice is heard in every sound, and its path is right under your feet. And so it is. So meditation is already happening. So let's just go deeper. Let's listen to these words from spiritual teacher Gangaji. Be still. It takes no effort to be still. It is utterly simple. When your mind is still, you have no name. You have no past. You have no relationships. You have no country. You have no spiritual attainment. There is just the presence of beingness itself. Be still. For just this moment, let yourself be completely still. Get a sense of your body relaxing into that stillness. And from the field of that stillness, I invite you to rest today. My invitation to everyone is to allow yourself this moment to profoundly rest in this spacious stillness that is arising here. Let your mind sink into this stillness. Just for this moment. And as we rest in that stillness, bring your awareness as well fully to your listening. And simply listen to the sounds of life that are arising around you. Allow for a little shift from perhaps listening to the voice in your head to your thinking. Perhaps even thinking that that thinking is who you are. Let there be a little shift to listening to the sounds of life that are appearing to your awareness. As you do this, you might lift your interior gaze slightly so that you can focus. Listen as if with every cell in your body to the sounds of life. Become absorbed in that field of listening. I invite you to notice that as you listen, you do not have control over the sounds that are appearing to your awareness now. They are arising spontaneously in the present moment. Your mind may like some of the sounds and not like the other sounds, but that's really too bad. You don't get a vote. The sounds are arising to your awareness. I invite you today to notice as you listen, to verify for yourself that you do not have control over what is appearing around you right now. It is all happening to your awareness. Notice this. The sounds you hear, the breeze on your skin, the trees, the grass, the flowers of the garden, the sound of the plane overhead. All of this is happening without you having to do anything to make it happen. Notice. All of this is appearing and arising in the flow of the Tao, that universal intelligence that is giving rise to everything spontaneously in this eternal moment. Notice. Are you willing to rest in that intelligence today? Are you willing to recognize that your life is being lived out of that greater intelligence? Notice that it continues. Moment by moment, everything is happening and appearing to your awareness without you having to do anything to make it happen. Please breathe that truth in, for there is freedom in that truth. Let your mind sink into that truth. The mind that tries to control, The mind that thinks it's in control. The mind that thinks it can manipulate this reality to do its bidding. Can you let it go? As you look inside, can you see that the inner world is also happening without you having to do anything to make it happen, just like the outer world? Are your thoughts not just appearing to your awareness spontaneously? Do you know where they come from? Really? Your emotions, your sensations arising to your awareness. Are you doing that? Can you find the you that you think is doing all that inside you? Try right now. Notice that your heart is beating right now, and you are not having to do anything to make that happen. Notice. Your breathing is like the breeze touching your skin. A moment ago, you were probably not aware of your breathing. Now we're aware of our breath. But before, who was breathing you? Look. Wasn't your body just being breathed by the divine? Lay back into its arms today. It's living you. Its will is your will. Its life is your life. This idea that you're a separate little me, it's an illusion. In this surrender, in this clear seeing, that we are not doing anything to make any of this happen, we find freedom. In Taoism, it would be called entering the flow of the Tao. Welcome. Notice how effortless this is unfolding right now in the flow of the Tao. Continue to notice as I say a few more words this morning that it is all continuing to happen without you having to do anything to make it happen. Rest in that today. Rest in that forever. This effortless flow that I'm pointing at and that probably most of you are absorbed in right now. In Taoism, this is called Wu Wei. It's interesting in teaching Taoism for so many years. The teaching that people are most attracted to in Taoism, the teaching that they are most interested in is the teaching that we're practicing right now. When they hear about Wu Wei, when they hear about this practice of effortless action, in Buddhism called spontaneous arising, notice again how everything is arising spontaneously. Spontaneous means unpremeditated, no plan behind it. Notice. And when people hear about this, they intuitively sense that, can life be so simple? Is there a flow in my life that I am missing that will take me exactly where I need to go, which is always where you're sitting? As I said in the Tao Te Ching prayer I read, the path is under your feet. Is there anything else that you need to figure out about this moment? Notice. It's handed to you on a silver platter. Are you here? Most of the time, where we are is in the mind trying to figure this out. Where we are most of the time is in our mind trying to manipulate this reality, this intelligence. We don't like what it has to offer us. Even though for most of you, you have more abundance than anyone in the world. There is something in us that thinks, notice that I use the word think, that we need to get in the driver's seat and drive the car. We need to take control. Even though most of you know that when you try to do that, you'll end up crashing the car. Things don't go quite the way you think they will. We've all been there. You start to force life. You start to push back on the flow. It's like being in the middle of the Colorado River and you put your hands up thinking you're going to stop the flow. All you do is drown. Many of you here have been drowning for a long time. Many people in the world right now are drowning. They are trying more and more desperately to manipulate the river, to give them what they think will make them happy. They're trying to force the flow to go a certain way when the flow is saying, no, I know what to do. Please join me and move with me. Go with the grain instead of fighting me. And I'll take you exactly where you need to be, which is exactly where you're sitting today. Could you be anywhere else? And if you look at the unfolding this morning and this week, hasn't everything just moved so beautifully to bring you here to your seat today? It's quite miraculous. And again, I invite you to notice that you have not had to do anything to make this happen. Your eyes come open in the morning and the world appears for you. Isn't it amazing? Another 24 hours, as Thich Nhat Hanh says, to enjoy and flow and live your life and breathe and smile. If you give yourself to this intelligence, your life will become infinitely easier. Your life will become effortless like the breeze. If you look at the trees now, do you think they're efforting to grow? Do you think they have psychological problems about what life is giving them? Lao Tzu says that nature never forces, and yet everything gets accomplished. Notice. Is it possible for you to live in this flow all the time? Absolutely. Many of you do it, or you spend large amounts of your time in that flow going with the grain, going with that divine intelligence, instead of fighting it and resisting it and thinking you know what's best. For those of you that have lived in Wu Wei, you know that it's quite miraculous. It can sometimes feel absolutely like a miracle. Of course, if you're really here today and you're feeling the breeze, if you're being still, it's quite miraculous, isn't it? I'll tell you a story about Wu Wei that I heard just this week from one of my students, longtime students. We were having a conversation on the phone because she lives in Northern California now, but she keeps up with the Tao tribe. As I always say, once in the Tao tribe, always in the Tao tribe. Once in the flow, you never want to be anywhere else. So we were talking last week, and she told me this story. She said that her and a friend of hers, she lives in the Bay Area, her and a friend of hers got tickets to go see Paul McCartney. He's on tour right now, and he was appearing in San Francisco. So they had their tickets for a while. And on the day of the concert, they were talking to each other, and they said, should we go out to dinner, or should we leave early and get down to the arena and get our seats? So they had a little conversation, and what they chose to do was go down to the arena early. And they arrived about 6:30. The show was at 8. They arrived early. They went to the door where their tickets would have been. Just inside those doors was the arena. She said they weren't bad seats, but they were about halfway back, right? So they walked in through these doors, and there was a gentleman standing there. And he said, "Ladies, can I see your tickets?" "Oh, sure." They gave me tickets. He looked at them and he said, "I work for Mr. McCartney. Would you like better seats tonight?" They looked at each other. "Oh, yes. Follow me." Well, down to the floor they go, and she described it as the stage got closer and closer and closer until finally they were delivered to 2 seats right in front of Mr. McCartney. That's where they sat for the whole show. She said as they went up there, they were pinching themselves. They kept getting the tickets out to look at him. Can this really be real? Oh my gosh. Wow. And the whole joy of the hour before the show was unbearable. They were just in ecstasy. They could not believe their good fortune. And then the show started, and then they got 2.5 more hours of this incredible musician singing for them. She said he would absolutely look at us and smile, and right? That sounds pretty miraculous. I'm by no means saying that Wu Wei will deliver you to the feet of Sir Paul McCartney every day. However, I can use this as an example of how Wu Wei works. When many people hear of Wu Wei, they think it's an invitation to do nothing. Just lay back. Life's going to deliver everything you want, right? You might be laying there for the rest of your life, okay? The literal translation of Wu Wei is doing, not doing. So there's a doing in this not doing. Notice, it's not just not doing, being lazy or letting life roll over you. There's an absolute practice to this not doing. In the case of my friend, it looks like this. She had to buy a ticket. Right? So she found out about the concert, and there was an inspiration inside her. Oh, I'd love to see Paul. I'd love to go. I've been there because I've seen Paul many times. I know what that inspiration feels like. Then she had to buy the ticket. And then they had to get in the car and they had to drive there. Then the Tao took over. She had no idea. She had no expectation. And 2.5 hours in front of the feet of Sir Paul. This is the way Wu Wei works. If each of you go inside right now, you have all been in those places in your life where usually you were in a situation that you were trying to force things or worrying about things, a lot of fear. You felt constricted and cut off from this divine intelligence. For those of you, by the way, that are new to Taoism that want to think of this as God, awesome. But you get cut off from it. Alan Watts, the great philosopher who I love, at the end of his life, he was immersed in Taoist philosophy. His last book was called The Tao, The Watercourse Way. Unfortunately, he passed before he finished it, but he got most of it finished. He had been really involved in Zen Buddhism, and then toward the end of his life, he came into the flow of the Tao. He used to love to talk about what I'm talking about today, Wu Wei. He called Wu Wei not forcing, moving with the grain. All of us have been in those situations in life, usually when there's some worry, something happening in our life that is challenging. The natural inclination of the mind is to get in there and start forcing things, make all those calls, call that person and see what's up with them. And if it's something happening with a family, you got to call all the relatives, and you're doing, and you're doing, and you're doing. And suddenly, you've made it worse. All of your forcing against this incredible river of intelligence is only tying you into knots of anxiety and fear. I know I've been there. And I also know what happened to me in those situations. In a moment, I surrendered. I couldn't do it anymore. Have all of you been there? You just lay back in that stream and you go, I am exhausted. And you notice that all your worry and fear and forcing, it's not changing anything, is it? All it's doing is holding in place those situations that you want to change so badly. In the moment of letting go, the dam breaks and the river starts flowing again. And you end up moving through that situation with grace and ease. Oftentimes, and all of you have been there, you think you need to do something about someone or some situation. If you just do nothing, that situation will dissolve of itself. Has anybody had that happen? You don't make that call. You don't write that email that you're inclined to that might stir things up more. You just wait. As Lao Tzu says, do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and the water becomes clear? What is this mud? Your concepts, your ideas, your thinking, your doing, your trying. In a moment of letting that settle, the water becomes clear, doesn't it? And you know which way to go. It's like a doorway opening. Welcome. And in that, you find the flow again. You find this space of not forcing anything to be other than the way it is. And instead of forcing, you work with those energies to go where you need to go. And where you need to go is right here. Right now. There's nowhere else that we can be. What the Taoist masters found is that each moment unfolds in this way, and the next step is shown. The next step is shown. The next step is shown. Michael Singer has a description for the Tao. If any of you have read The Untethered Soul, I always tell people, I've been practicing and teaching Taoism for a long time. His chapter on the Tao in The Untethered Soul is probably the best 10 pages I've ever read concerning what the Tao is and what this Wu Wei is. And by the way, he has a new book out. I'm not being paid to plug it. It's fantastic. Living Untethered, which is basically a book on what I'm speaking about right now. Anyway, in The Untethered Soul, Michael Singer talks about living in the flow this way. Imagine that you are blind. All you have is a highly sensitive walking cane. And you put it down in front of you and you start following the path. You go here and there. Oh, over here I noticed that there's an edge I might fall off of. So you come back here. And then you start to veer this way and you touch the edge. You might fall over. You come back. It's this constant feeling into the present moment which will direct you into the middle way, into this constant flow that's happening right now. You can't see a day from now. You can't see what's behind you. You can't even see to the left or right, really, but you can feel. Wu Wei is about intuition. It's about feeling your way through life instead of thinking your way through life. For those of you that might be wondering, how can I move into this flow more and more in my life, this effortless ease, because this sounds so good to me, doesn't it? Don't we intuitively know that this is what God wants for us? Here, come rest in my palms. I'm doing it all for you. Just like all this is appearing for us without us having to do anything to make it happen. If you acknowledge what I've just pointed at, if you go inside, you can find this same flow. It's living you. It is you. It's looking through your eyes. And so people ask, how can I live more and more surrendered in this beautiful flow? And it's really quite simple. The masters give us all the steps. Number one is what we've been doing today and what we did earlier. Some of you, I'm noticing, are still there. Be still. First, be still. Begin your day in that stillness. Then move from the still point. The right action will arise, Lao Tzu says, of itself, out of this stillness. You won't have to think about it. You'll know. You'll be led. The doors will open, and you'll be flowing in that. From that stillness every day that you sit in. Here's the thing. We can't force this. There's often times in our life, and we've all been there, there's nothing to do in that moment. Have you noticed? The mind has a hard time with this. Perhaps you've done everything you can do on that project or getting that job or in that relationship. All that's left to do now is take your hands off the steering wheel, get into the passenger seat, and wait. Wait patiently until the right action comes to you by itself, and it will. It always does, doesn't it? When you're hungry, do you sit there for the rest of your life saying, I don't think I'll eat? No. You go into the refrigerator and you get something to eat because your body's telling you you're hungry. So in that still point, in the stillness of the presence, the next step will be shown. Sometimes that step is to do absolutely nothing. Here's what I always say. When in doubt, do nothing. It's not time. The time has its own way. God has its own timing. And then the way will be shown. Out of that doing, the most important element of Wu Wei is to trust the Tao. Trust God. Trust that divine force that is breathing you right now, that is living your life for you. You know, I'm amazed by how many spiritual people I meet over the years. These are people that have been on the path a really long time, and they simply cannot trust this intelligence that is breathing us right now. This intelligence that has brought you everything you have in your life effortlessly. I'm not saying you didn't work for it. This intelligence that has brought you here, that is bringing the breeze, the clouds. Until we are able to fully trust in that divine intelligence, we will trip ourselves up. We will end up back in the mind trying to force things. But the practice is, once you notice you're doing that, take a step out of it. Come back to stillness and then wait for the next moment, the next thing to show itself effortlessly. And it will. Like when you wake up and the sun is shining and you haven't done anything to make it shine. Have you noticed that? Amazing. What makes you think the rest of your life is any different than that? Really? I didn't wake myself up today. My eyes came open and it was the blessing of a new day. The Tao. I invite all of you to take this practice with you today. We need this in our life right now. We're under so much stress and so much uncertainty. If you keep living next week, you will have uncertainty. If you just stay right here, there's certainty here, isn't there? You know exactly what's happening here, and you'll know the next step to take because it will be revealed to you. Oh, I'm hungry. I think I'll go get lunch. Some of you may laugh and say, oh, it can't be that simple. Well, you miss out. I'm here to tell you it is that simple. As I said, just as your heart has been being beat while you sit here, that intelligence is living you. It's looking through your eyes. Surrender to that. And as Gangaji says, then see what happens. Do nothing and then see what happens. That is the practice of Wu Wei. So I invite everybody to close your eyes as we end. Coming back to that still point. And I invite you to notice again, I know we've done this several times, but any practice worth mastering is worth bringing yourself to over and over and over again. Verify for yourself on the deepest level that everything that is going on around you, including me speaking to you, you are not having to personally do anything to make this happen right now. Listen. Breathe in the flow. Breathe out into the flow. Let your mind sink into this flow this morning. Let the idea that you're in charge of your life sink into this flow of divine intelligence. Notice that as this arises, there is no struggle here. There's no resistance. There's you sitting quietly, doing nothing. And spring comes and the grass grows all by itself. The breeze blows all by itself. The birds sing to you all by themselves. As we come towards the end of our time, again, I invite you to take this practice with you today. And these words from the great Taoist sage, Chuang-Tzu. Flowers do not struggle to bloom. Water does not struggle to flow. Sun does not struggle to shine. Grass does not struggle to grow. Struggle is unnatural. Be like nature. Go with the flow.
Thank you, Craig. It always amazes me that you can speak so eloquently about effortless things. My name is Mary Jean Hawes. I'm the ministry director here at Unity of Tustin. I want to welcome anyone who's here for the first time with us today. Some of you received a welcome packet. If you'd be willing to raise your hands, if you're here for the first time and you welcome. Someone in the back too, Kathy. Thank you for being with us today. Unity is an inclusive community. Everyone is welcome here. Next month is Diversity Month, and we will be printing our diversity and inclusion statement to honor Diversity Month. So before we come to our time of tithes and love offerings, I just want to mention that I was in Kansas City last week, and some of you know Kansas City is the home of Unity. I wasn't at Unity Village, but I was at my, I guess what you would call mother church, where I first came to Unity on the Plaza, where John and I were married almost 39 years ago. Yeah, a long time. And one of the things I do when I go to another Unity church is kind of check it out and say, I wonder what they're doing. I wonder how they're measuring up. And I just wanted to mention that we are doing quite well. They're doing well, but we're doing really well. I will say there was one thing I noticed. They have beautiful remodeled bathrooms. So it planted a seed in my mind that maybe ours could use an upgrade. But you know that's how seeds work, right? Our church is stepping out in faith right now. This is something we teach, that we're stepping out in faith. We're not waiting to be given, we're waiting for direction, obviously, but we're not waiting till conditions are perfect or the perfect moment comes. We're stepping out in faith. Our new website, for example, is an example of stepping out in faith. Please check it out. I just know there are some of you that will be sending me emails going, there's an error on page whatever. I really encourage that because some of you know I'm a little busy these days. And I know you will be eyes for me to find some of these things that I'm just not going to have time for. So thank you very much. We have a vision that Unity of Tustin is a thriving spiritual community where people come to grow spiritually, to receive guidance on their spiritual path, to this place of beauty and sacredness. This is all our vision of Unity of Tustin. And all of this has to be supported financially. Just to clarify, we don't receive money from Unity. We give money to Unity, actually, to be part of the Unity Worldwide Ministry. So all of our entire campus, all of our programs are all supported strictly by donations. So there are many ways to give. If you need any guidance about the app or the text message giving, the kiosk back there, there's all sorts of ways to give, and we are so grateful. So let's say the love offering blessing together. Divine love, as we, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And Michael has another song for us. so much, Michael.
Thank you.
So as we bless these love offerings, we thank you, Holy Spirit, for inviting us into the flow of giving and receiving, knowing that God is our source. And so it is. Amen. So before we close, I don't want to forget anything, so I'm just going to say the drum circle will be at Site 8. The car wash is still going on, I guess, till 2 o'clock today. I can show you at the kiosk how to make a credit card donation to the family ministry if you like. The prayer chaplains and the Reiki team are going to be at the entrance to the gardens in case you want a prayer or some Reiki treatment. And the hospitality is ready to feed us. But before we do any of that, yes. Okay, great. In the sanctuary, great. I just want to mention a couple weeks ago when we had this outdoor service, we tried an experiment where rather than try to sign people up in advance, which seemed to be just a point of real resistance on some people's part, but when they were here, they were willing to help at the end of the service because, sort of as Shara said, many hands make light work. And this, as you know, this is a lot of work, putting this up and taking this down. So before you join hospitality or the drum circle or anything else, please help us take down the chairs and the pop-ups. And John and Marco will sort of direct you if you have any questions. So let's say the prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, and all is well. Go forth and live the effortless life.
I play? Okay. I didn't know. I thought that was. Oh, it's not on my computer.